I have emails weekly of people, oh, Josh, I did this thing in SEO and I'm losing my business. It's the single biggest change I've seen since watching Google since 1998. Bigger than Panda, bigger than Penguin, which makes sense. It's a whole new SERP. It's a whole new search results page. I did just another massive study, 2 data correlative analyses, and the ranking factors have completely changed, utterly changed. The ranking factors to get onto the 10 blue links are almost completely different to Launchpad from the 10 blue links to get into the AI overview. And since Google I/O a couple of weeks ago, Google was very clear in that they're moving into the AI overview. That is the new SERP. That is the new 10 blue links. You need to be in a group that does the testing, because with the testing comes the truth, and with the truth comes the ethics. And I could say with some authority, yes, you should spend $5,000 on me fixing this, or yes, you should spend $10,000 of doing this kind of thing, because it's not chump change in many cases, and it can make or break a business. And so I take that very seriously. Google benefits by making SEO harder so that we all have to buy more AdWords. That's how Google benefits, right? You have no choice but to join them. You have absolutely no choice but to join them, right? You have to jump onto, and I know this is still a little controversial for folks, still may not want to hear this, but the horse and buggy has been put in the barn, and the car is now driving on the road.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Search with Candour, the podcast where I interview the best and brightest minds across SEO and digital marketing. I am your host, Jack Chambers-Ward, as always, and this week I am joined by the one and only Josh Bachynski. Josh and I are going to be talking all about the ethics of marketing and why evidence-based marketing is so important in this AI era of SEO. Yes, we're going to get into the ethics of using AI in SEO and AI search, and Josh is particularly interesting and particularly well placed to discuss this because he has studied ethics and has worked in marketing for over 20 years. It's a really interesting combination of the academic analysis and the discussion there, and also the experience and actually practical uses of AI that we are talking about in this episode. So I hope you really enjoy and experience the conversation Josh and I have. Before we get to that, please do, of course, like and subscribe here on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. Follow and review on Spotify if you're watching or listening on Spotify. I think you can review still on Apple Podcasts. I don't know if you can leave comments on there yet, but all that kind of stuff. The interaction stuff, basically. Please do leave comments. Please do leave ratings. Let me know what you think of the show. Let me know what you're enjoying and what you're looking forward to, and if I can improve anything. I really appreciate all of your feedback. And if you have any thoughts about the ethics of using AI in marketing, or how to do ethical marketing in this era of AI, let me know. Let me know in the comments down below, and please do get involved in the conversation. I am sure there is plenty to talk about because I have plenty to talk about with Josh. In the meantime, like I said, please do enjoy this conversation with me and Josh Bachynski. My guest is a founder, TEDx speaker, philosopher, technologist, author, and multi-time black belt with over 20 years of business branding, marketing, and tech experience. Welcome to Search with Candour, Josh Bachynski.
Hi, Jack. How you doing?
Good, thank you, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. As we were just talking about before, the construction noise outside my apartment is pretty quiet right now, so this is pretty good. It's a beautiful day here in Canada, not a cloud in the sky, so can't complain.
Nice. For once, it's a beautiful day here in England as well. Like the stars have aligned.
Vancouver Island is much like England in the sense that it rains a lot, so I get you.
Nice. We are bonded through SEO and terrible weather, unfortunately.
Yes, and very green foliage. That's
there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. But we're not talking necessarily about any foliage today, although maybe we'll get onto it later on. You brought a really interesting topic. Exactly right. Exactly. You brought a really interesting topic to the show that I think a lot of us, and particularly I appreciate, your background in ethics and philosophy, I think is going to be really relevant here, as well as all the marketing stuff. We're going to be talking about ethical evidence-based marketing and why that is so important and why that matters in the AI search era we're finding ourselves in at the moment. So I will hand off to you first, Josh, to say, why do you think this is an important topic to talk about at the moment?
Thanks, Jack. No, I really do feel that way, and I have for a couple of decades now. Not only for the AI age, but for at least 15 years since getting 16 years now. getting much more seriously back into SEO and into marketing. And it's just because I have emails weekly of people, oh Josh, I did this thing in SEO and I'm losing my business, or oh Josh, I don't know what I'm doing. I get these kind of emails, and I need to know what to say to these folks. I need to know from authority and from some evidence of what I know what the best marketing strategies are going to be, just generally speaking, but in terms of SEO specifically, which has been more or less the Google world for the last 2 or 3 decades. What the actual ranking factors in Google are.
Mm.
So also coming from an academic background, I was doing interdisciplinary. I did an interdisciplinary MA between philosophy, psychology, and science, and I was doing an interdisciplinary PhD between, again, the same topics, specializing in ethics, specifically neuroscience, rational decision theory, stuff like that. And this is all evidence-based stuff for the most part, right? So I found it kind of weird that people were not taking old Gary Ilyash's suggestion from Google to, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said this directly, test the ranking factors, test what an actual ranking factor is. And so I'm like, okay, well, there was a Google employee who said it there, but now he can do it, right? So that's what we do, and we test it very stringently. We use not only statistical data correlative analyses, which kind of everybody uses, these kind of mass 10,000 page studies, but we'll do single variable experiments as well and testing as well. And it is even more important to do that in this age where, for the last 2 decades, I don't know, tell me, Jack, if I'm off base, I think a lot of people thought they knew what the ranking factors were, and they were easy enough to get, maybe. And so if they just acquired the right backlinks and did enough specificity in enough places on their page, they could kind of get by for their customers and clients. But in the AI age, that is not the case at all. I mean, the ranking factors, I'm here to tell you, I just did another massive study, and I publish these studies in my mastermind group, Underground SEO University. I did just another massive study, 2 data correlative analyses, and the ranking factors have completely changed, utterly changed. The ranking factors to get onto the 10 blue links are almost completely different to Launchpad from the 10 blue links to get into the AI overview. And the AI overview from since Google I/O a couple of weeks ago, Google was very clear in that they're moving into the AI overview. That is the new SERP. That is the new 10 blue links. It's going to be 2 or 3 blue links, not in a list, but in a paragraph at the top in the AI overview or AI mode. And that's what the new target for ranking is. And so the question is, okay, well, that's a totally different technology. Instead of, I'm not saying they're not using their standard indexation to put pages there or get pages there. They are, as far as my testing is concerned. But there's a new technology. There's this RAG, this retrieval augmented generation, and this way that they are going to consume at runtime the pages to make sure they have the updated content. Because it's one thing for them to say, okay, yeah, the dance event is at 7 p.m. at Josh's dance studio, and they indexed that page a week ago, but they need to check it again very briefly, very quickly before they can promote it in the AI overview. Before, the burden of proof was on us. So like, yeah, we'll give you the 10 blue links, human. You click on whatever you want and you suss out whether it's true or not. Now they think about it for a second. Now they are taking it upon themselves. A lot of things have changed. They are taking it upon themselves, this not least of which is that they have to stand up for that content now. So for them to stand up for that content, they've got to read it again and pull it in. And that's what this retrieval augmented generation is. It's where chunking comes in and a little bit, not as much as people think, because of much more simple technology than people think it is, but we can get to that later. And anyway, they're pulling it in at runtime. So obviously, if we have a bunch of runtime algorithms, Google since the beginning has always been a two-sort search system. There's the shard collection, the original shard collection, and then there's the runtime query deserves freshness or query deserves diversity, QDF, QDD. We all know this. They've published this. They've been doing this for decades. Now there's a third on top of that, it seems, or the second one has changed. However you want to slice that pie. But now there's these different ranking algorithms, which I'm here to tell you are amazing, totally different. And so it's a whole new ballgame. So for those folks who aren't testing, I really recommend you do, or get with a group that does testing. You need to be in a group that does the testing, because with the testing comes the truth, and with the truth comes the ethics and the ethical position of being like, I could say with some authority, yes, you should spend $5,000 on me fixing this, or yes, you should spend $10,000 of doing this kind of thing, because it's not chump change in many cases, and it can make or break a business. And so I take that very seriously.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot to dig into there straight away, but I think you're totally right when it comes to the way people are approaching. I think good SEOs have been testing for a while now, right?
Yeah.
This has been a thing. The classic advice I hear from people like yourself who've been around for 20 plus years in this industry is like, build your own sites, try out things, experiment and test and get those results and understand why things are happening, rather than just, as you said at the very start of the show there, following the typical ranking factors we think we all know, right?
Right.
And
Exactly.
I'm finding, and I'm agreeing with you, that I think testing is even more important now. This is a conversation we're having in the agency, and we're using a few different tools to always A/B test and group test and time based testing and all this kind of stuff, and think about what works and what doesn't work. And it can massively differ from industry to industry, from niche to niche as
Hmm.
well, right? Like, we
Hmm.
have a pretty wide variety. We don't specialize in any particular niche here at Canada. So it is a pretty broad scope of international, local, all kinds of stuff. So
Right.
I think you're totally right. When you are trying those things, having a group, you mentioned the undergrad SEO university there, like having a group where you can discuss this kind of thing and
Hmm.
have chats. That used to be SEO Twitter before Twitter,
Right.
but
Yeah.
that I'm seeing more and more communities pop up, more and more, groups and discords and slacks and all that kind of stuff where, you know, we're able to share data, we're able to have these conversations. And I think a key point is that Google is becoming less transparent with their data as well, right? Like you said,
Hmm.
we felt like we kind of knew some of the ranking factors, and some of them have been basically outright confirmed by multiple sources and all this kind of stuff. But we're not getting true data from LLM search in Search Console or GA4 or anything like that, unless you're
Yeah.
fiddling around with regex, and sometimes that doesn't work either. So it's like, yeah, I think it's a really interesting point you say there, where those what we'd consider the traditional ranking factors have changed so much when you're thinking about AIOs and AI mode.
Yes.
From your testing, was there anything that really stood out as like you weren't expecting that, or like there it was not even I don't know, a twinkle in your eye, not a hint of the original, the typical ranking factors, but now is surprisingly more relevant?
Y- yeah. No, it's so much. Uh, I had to crack out the old Wikipedia and start looking at computer science terms and the way that
Nice.
they're in data analysis and informational architecture, the way they're categorizing. And so I had to go back to university a little bit and pick up some of my minor courses again. And okay, how does this computer science stuff work? And so and I have them here on a list that I keep on a daily basis because I have to refer back to it. But pretty amazingly, concepts like extractable snippets, which we would call that maybe no reference failure. The single sentences fully answer the question and could be quoted on their own. Also, self-contained claims, which you don't have to rely on an argument. They could lift for the AI overview one single
Mm,
sentence that kind of contains the entire argument in it. Direct definitions, information that's crucial to the reader. So, how well the page indicates what they know that they may not, how well the page indicates what the user needs to know, whether they even need to know to ask it, or the explainer, for lack of a better word, the educator, the person writing the page, the expert, even knows to answer, right? And so this is all part of vector embedding as well, and the way that that max cosine works, and also getting the math, the point in that secret direction to get you the answer that people may not even really realize to even ask or to say on the page. So, yeah, very amazing. I mean, I already knew that was a ranking factor. They've been talking about vector embedding for some time, but how they're employing it in the AI overview was quite amazing. So, factors like that that I was able to do. I have a quarter of a trillion impressions in my system that I can.
Jesus.
Yeah, trillion with a T. I was like, wow, that's more than I expected. I have a quarter of a trillion impressions per month that I can access for data correlative analyses. So obviously many tens of thousands of pages and big, huge sites obviously in there as well. And so, yeah, the data correlative analyses are very interesting as to what they're pointing out and showing. Well, we never would have expected. We knew from 5 years ago that Google liked data, but when they say we want you to say something new, eh, that's not really true. Actually, they don't really want you to say something new, because Google's truth system. And I got into an infamous debate with Paul Har, who was, I believe, I don't think he's there anymore, a senior engineer, about how they were setting up their truth system. And they were setting it up as truth is consensus, right? So Bill Slosky, RIP, one of his videos he put out there was about the mountaintop algorithm and about how they can analyze not what everyone on the internet says is true. That would be dangerous. That would be very, very dangerous. Even more dangerous than what they did rely upon. And all they can really rely upon is a consensus of experts. So they read who people say are the experts, and they find those people. Those are just simple nodes in the knowledge graph. That's not a problem, right? And then they find out what those people say. What do they say? What do they say the prices are? What do they say their measurements should be? All this technical specifications that works really well in a table, for example. I would prefer the original structured data, a table tag, to any other structured data, in my opinion. If it's worth saying, have it front facing, have it for the user. But interestingly, like 5 or 6 years ago, when the kind of the AI was started, or however long it's been, I'm feeling punch drunk at this point. I can't days. I don't remember how long has things been going on for. It was like, okay, fine, throw all the data in it, 3,000 word articles, 5,000 word articles. That's not working anymore. That's not what they want. They don't want all the data. They only want the data, right? They want specificity. They want to have the consensus of the experts there. So EAT continues to be important in that regard. But EAT is such a terrible acronym. Like, what does it mean exactly? Well, it means this specifically in some cases, is having the exact right kind of data there. Very quite amazing stuff. And we had to change it's the single biggest change I've seen since watching Google since 1998. Bigger than Panda, bigger than Penguin, which makes sense. It's a whole new SERP. It's a whole new search results page. So whole new search results page, a whole new set of ranking algorithms. So it should make sense. And you have to change your game entirely and find out what those ranking factors are, or you will never be part of the AI overview. You might get cited. You might get pulled in the query fan out, but you'll never get a link. You'll never get cited. You won't be mentioned. They will just, in worst case scenario, you informed Google for free with all your hard work and got no attribution whatsoever. If you want to talk about ethics, that I have a particular problem with. I don't know if anybody else out there has a problem with that. They'll use your information for free, just like they were before, with the slight promise you might get some traffic. And now it's like, no, you're not getting any traffic. We'll pull you in, but we won't even quote you or cite you in the main AI overview text.
Yeah, I think you're totally right to pull on that ethics thread for a second there. We've seen a lot of lawsuits over the last 18 months or so that huge publishers across Europe and in the US and even other parts of the world, exactly as you said there, you're stealing our content and you're not giving us the traffic. And we rely on things like AdSense and clicks to our ads to keep going as publishers. And huge groups of publishers are suing the hell out of Google at this point. And
as well they
I know
should.
we saw, there was a very recent decision in a German court that was deciding whether Google basically tried to say that they are not liable for the information that's provided in AI overviews. And I don't know if you read the transcript, Josh.
Yes.
I absolutely loved the response from the one of the senior legal team, where they were like, it's labeled as a Google product, and they gave examples of like Google marketing of like, here is where you've marketed it all, and here is where you're saying like, this is Google and we're breaking ground and we're doing all this innovative stuff. It's like, you can't market something, put your name all over it, present it to the public, to billions of people around the world, and then say, not my problem. It's not us.
Yeah.
Don't blame us. Like, I think it
Yeah.
is. If you create that technology and give it to people, it is kind of your problem. And I think you're totally right. Like, getting into that ethical discussion is one thing. I do want to pick up on a couple of things you mentioned there as well when it comes to the consensus, and I know the recent discussion. I think it was from Gary Ish a couple of maybe a month or two ago about commodity versus non-commodity content.
Mm,
And I know we some of the team here discovered a Google data leak last year. I think it was last year, which included something called a consensus score.
yeah.
And as is always the case, there was a like site quality score, there was a consensus score, there's a few other things. This is now public information. Mark and the team have discussed this publicly. I'm not,
I remember
breaking
this. Yeah.
NDAs or anything. But as you can imagine, all the questions we received, we even got inquiries from potential clients being like, hello, what's my quality score? Can you tell me more about the consensus score? Just
Hmm.
focusing on that arbitrary number as if we know what that does or what that means. And I think you're totally right. People often misunderstand terms like consensus. Oh, you just have to say the same thing as everyone else. That's consensus, right? It's like, no,
Hmm.
that is not true. But also, like you said, relying on expertise and trustworthy sources, tying back into EEAT, as you said earlier as well. Where do you think the crossover, I guess, of the ethics side of things for us as marketers comes when it is creating this kind of content? Do we need to worry about how we're being presented and represented by LLMs? Because they are want to adjust and hallucinate and edit and rephrase and things like that.
Hmm.
Or is it more, the responsibility of the companies such as Google, OpenAI, Perplexity, Anthropic, etc.? Where do you think that the ball ultimately lies, or is there an answer to that, I guess?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit on both sides, but I would lean more on the company sides because again, they're the ones who are producing this editorial, right? Whether it's a human on their side producing this editorial, summarizing this content, or it's an AI, it doesn't really matter. As the German court mentioned there, what we were talking about previously is that Google is responsible for the information that they're providing. This is no longer the 10 blue links with just a snippet. Now they are lifting from our pages the answer, not giving attribution in many cases, and only in the top 3 cases, if they have any clickable links in the AI overview at all. They don't always do. I mean, they have the gray, right now it's the gray, brand name token you would click, kind of a Chicago style attribution, a citation at the end of the sentence. I don't even know if most users know you can click that because it's not a traditional looking backlink. I mean, we've clicked the heck out of it, of course, because we're like, how's this work? The swarm of SEOs get on there. Da, 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 da. We're like clicking everything, trying to figure out how it works. I'm not even sure if I showed that to my aunt or uncle, and they know that that was something you can click. But so given that they're obviously trying to, and let's be candid. The name is Candour behind you, so let's follow from that. Google benefits by making SEO harder so that we all have to buy more AdWords. That's how Google benefits, right? And it's still, for as long as Google's been around and all the different businesses they have, still the vast majority of their money still comes from Google search, and the vast money that Google search produces is still Google ads. So
100%.
they've had a few quarters ago, they had their best quarter in terms of revenue ever. And that was just around a few quarters, maybe a couple of years, just around where they're really making these updates, changing the AI overview ranking factors. And so a lot of SEOs out there who weren't paying good attention were left holding the bag, and they had no choice but to buy Google Ads. And so yeah, so I mean, as per usual, as I said in my TEDx talk, I'm nothing if not consistent. That if you're going to point to me this giant corporation that could make life better for so many different people, and doesn't have to be dare I say oligarchic kind of an oligarchic tyranny, techno dystopia, and then point at the guy who's trying to make put hand to mouth, who's trying to make money for his family. He's an HVAC, he repairs HVAC systems or whatever it is, or he's a plumber or whatever it is, and he just needs people to be able to find him in Google Maps. Whose fault is it that this system is not being very equitable? I think it's the company. I think it's the company's fault that this is not being equitable. I think, yeah, and I hope. I think the rest of the world is kind of starting to see this, and the EU, Europe has always been A lot of the liberal democracy has always been a little bit more forward thinking in these kinds of regards, kind of seeing the writing on the wall and be like, and I think even Google and all the tech bros in general are starting to lose their darling status, or even more than starting to lose their darling status in the Western Hemisphere as well, which is good. Which is good because we've got the K economy that we're dealing with, right? I don't know if you've heard of this phrase, the K economy. So imagine a capital K. That the back of the K is the x-axis, the bottom is the y-axis, and there's two lines, one going up, one going down. Well, the one going up is the 10% of bougie families, the richest families in the world, that are buying, the majority of the goods, the 50 to 70% of the goods, and that other line, that's the rest of us. That's the rest of us going down in terms of our economic potential. And again, I don't think history is going to look very fondly on these kind of tech bro companies that are helping produce that kind of economy, because it's only going to end very, very badly.
Absolutely. 100% agree with you, man. I think but yeah, we could have a whole big conversation about the state of the economy thanks to these tech pros. But funny enough, I totally agree, especially pulling on that thread of the Google Ads side of things. Like Google has never cared about us and the organic side of things. We don't make the money. We don't do anything that moves their bottom line in it with any significance. Yep. And I've had a few conversations over the years on the show and off record as well with PPC people, with people who have worked in both organic and paid. And it is often that, like, look at the paid side of things for Google, and you'll often see what is 3, 6, 9, 12 months down the line for organic, right? You're going to see so much of, oh, that's where they're pushing new things and trying new things because that's where they make the money. You mentioned a ridiculous figure of $250 billion earlier on. That is roughly the revenue from Google Ads that Google had. I think it was 2 years ago. I think that was the number you're referring to earlier.
Yes.
It was like 270 billion or something ridiculous. And obviously now people are talking a lot more about trillion because of Elon Musk being the world's first trillionaire and all this kind of stuff.
Indeed, yeah.
But yeah, I feel like we're often in our own little organic bubble, right? And I think a lot of us are trying to break down those walls and have more conversations with other marketing teams and brand, product, all this kind of stuff, and opening these doors to have wider conversations.
Indeed. But Jack, I want to jump in there.
Underestimate the payout. So please do.
But so again, that's kind of the state of affairs. As we're talking about before the show, it can get a little like, this is pretty doom and gloomy. I wanted to, if you don't mind, I wanted to talk about some of the positives, though. Some of the positives of the stuff that's going on. And so there's two sides to every coin. So I mean, that's the state of where we are, or where kind of things are going. It can seem pretty doom and gloomy, but I want to, if I can, I want to try to brighten the environment, brighten the day a little bit. So I'm a huge, however, proponent of embracing AI and embracing new technologies and embracing the state that we're in. I mean, so this is the state that we're in. How do savvy marketers market to the top 10%, or to the lower K of the economy? How do we change our pitches, change our shifts, shift our pitches, shift our branding, and how do we better market these businesses and adapt them to that kind of economy? Plus, talking about AI as well. Of course, people are very upset about AI in many ways. Not the least of which is that artists are up in arms, as well they should be. That AI seems to be biting into their meritocracy, to their talentocracy, if you will. They had kind of a talent monopoly, and AI is kind of biting into that. High level sales writers, not really. I mean, it's hard to get high level sales copy out of AI. Not impossible, but difficult. But and various others who are upset that AI is the way it is. I like to say to these folks, yep, take a second, be upset about it for a second, say, darn it, we live in this capitalistic world where people will do the thing that makes money. Okay, now how can we benefit from this? I mean, there's no stopping AI, right? There's no. If I thought for a second there was a way to stop the AI train, I might be singing a different tune. But you can't beat them. You have no choice but to join them. You have absolutely no choice but to join them, right? You have to jump onto, and I know this is still a little controversial for folks, Folks still may not want to hear this, but the horse and buggy has been put in the barn, and the car is now driving on the road. In 10 years, everyone will be like, yeah, cars are better. Like you get here from, ignoring the environmental concerns. There's always going to be ethical fallout from every new major technological shift. But ignoring that, I think everyone will be very happy to be able to get from whatever it is, LA to New York in 24 hours as opposed to 24 days or whatever it would be. Like that's just the way there's going to be. And so how do you, and quite frankly, I'm able to do things now with AI in terms of, I'll just limit it right now to SEO, but at the end of the conversation, we can broaden that out a little bit, that I would never been able to do before. I can take on so many more customers than I was able to take on before. I can build pages so much faster. I can analyze SERPs so much faster, analyze backlink profiles so much faster, and provide these tools for other people to use as well. Stuff that would have taken me 2 years ago, $100,000 and 6 months, now are taking me, maybe $100 and still 6 months, because agent coding isn't easy. Whoever says vibe coding is easy and faster, they're wrong. Not if you're building anything that's complex. Not if you can't afford, the $500 API costs per month or whatever it is you're trying to keep those costs down. But using, for me, a combination of Replit for the design, Claude, Opus 4.8, and Codex kind of in combination, 5.5, loving Fable 5 the few days I was able to get it. that fixed some problems I've been working on for weeks. You're able to do way more things now than you ever could do before. So, I know it's doom and gloom, but I don't think AI is the place to push back, because you're screaming against the wind. You're tilting against windmills. There's nothing you can do to stop this. And we don't want to stop it for the West getting, AGI supremacy first, because if we don't, somebody else will. And that could even be worse for the world. So embrace it, jump in there, embrace it, get into the agentic computing. It's a totally different way of doing computing. It's not just an SEO change. It's a complete computing change, complete life change. For example, my wife was working on something, took her 5-10 hours. I said, I literally could have done that for you in 10 minutes. I literally could have finished that in 10 minutes, not in like a nagging way. Like, honey, like really, you need to look at this new agentic coding that's going on, So, that is an amazing thing. And I think it's quite amazing in what it allows us also to do. The situation, it's a double-edged sword for Google. The situation that's making it better for Google, and they can make all their algorithm changes faster, and they can add the AI overview and all this AI tech, both front-facing and always. They've had it for 15 years at least, if not 20 years in the back end. People are just picking on the LLMs now. They don't realize that their entire world has been dominated since the beginning of social media by artificial intelligence. Like, you can't push, if you want to push back against artificial intelligence, take your phone and throw it in the river, because everything on there has AI, was made with AI, uses AI. There's more to AI than just making a chatbot autocomplete on steroids, right? But yeah, I recommend people look at what's out there with a critical eye, of course, because as we were also discussing before the show, or maybe at the beginning of it, I can't remember now. There's a surplus of a boom of AI tools promising the world. Just making sure, just when you check them out, make sure they're not just a GPT wrapper. Make sure it's just not somebody's prompt and a design around a 4.1 mini API call or something like that. That's not a program. That's just someone dressed up ChatGPT's normal response. So yeah, it is a brave new world, but I think with that brave new world, it's going to come with some scraped knees. I think for sure some people are going to have to kind of retrain and rethink their position, but we all do. I have to, everyone does, right? And that's just life. That's the way life goes. This kind of situation can befall anybody. Everyone has to change their career at some point. I don't know about you guys, but my dad worked at the same factory since he was like a teenager. I was born and raised in Winnipeg, and so he worked at the same Federal Pioneer Electric. They made transformers, and so he was up to his elbow grease and chemicals making transformers. Those big electrical things that change the power. And he worked there the whole time, and he's like, he worked for his pension, and that was it. I don't know if it was the same in the UK. That's the same kind of idea. You got to get your pension, or get a place,
Yeah,
get in a
yeah, yeah.
union, get your pension,
Absolutely.
and it's not that way for anyone. That's baby boomer. Not that way for Gen X or millennial or Gen Z especially, and definitely not going to be that way for the younger generations under Gen Z. So that's the way that it is. Where you fix that, go vote, participate in democracy. How about that? Change. That's how you change things. That's how you fix those things. Not complaining on Twitter, not pushing back and digging your head in the sand that, oh, AI is here. Everyone don't adopt it. Okay. Well, that's not going to do anything. You know what happens when you don't shop at Walmart? Nothing. Walmart's just fine. That wasn't actually, I've studied ethics. That's not actually an ethical stance. That's putting your head in the sand. I can defend that more if anyone wants more defense on that. That's just ignoring the problem. Ignoring the problem is typically unethical to do because you've helped perpetuate the problem. So what we got to do is help be part of the solution, change the technology around so it's helping people, helping you, enriching your life, and you could do amazing things with it if you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really important point there. You quite a few actually. Obviously, please participate in democracy. Please go and vote,
One,
no matter where you are. Like
yeah,
the part I want to kind of tying in the first, I guess, half of this episode where we were talking about the ethics side of things, and then bringing it into the marketing perspective. How do we then define what ethical marketing is for us? Like you, plenty of other people, listeners, viewers of the show, are using AI in their workflows. I am using it for, podcast stuff, for content
sure.
creation, all kinds of things. Ha- do we need to redefine what ethical marketing means now in this kind of AI powered era? Or, do we need a clear idea of what that means? Use the boycotting thing there as an example, right? You're totally right. Unless that happens significantly en masse, like
Exactly.
thousands and thousands of people, tens
Yes.
of thousands for huge corporations,
Yeah.
it makes no difference. And you were a tiny, tiny, tiny little drop of bucket, drop in the bucket kind of thing.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
how do we define modern ethical marketing, Josh?
That's a great question, and obviously it's one that's close to my heart. Given that, again, all of my academic career was focused on what ethics is and means. So I'm going to make two distinctions in the best world and what we have now. So in the best world, in this kind of imagine a Star Trek future where we're a post-money economy and we're a merit-based economy, or we're an aristocracy in the Greek sense of the aristos, so seeking the excellence, right? The arete, the again another Greek word, the agathos, the good, the maximal good for everyone, right? And if you want to think of it in a utilitarian sense, that's fine. I don't like utilitarianism personally. I think it falls down as well. I would go so far as to say, if you've hurt anybody at all, if you've through gross negligence, ignorance, bad habit, callous, you've risked harm to anyone, that crosses the line of being unethical, right? That is the only place where all of the systems even partially agree. That's the only thing that human beings do when push comes to shove, and they've never taken an ethics class in the world. Let's say there's two friends. You have to stay at his flat overnight because you guys have been drinking. Fine, good ethical decision. Don't drive home. Don't walk home drunk. Probably a bad idea. And he says, I know it's not. And there's no place to sleep except for the floor. And he says, I know it's not ideal, but who taught him about the concept of the ideal, right? Who told him that was the standard to measure everything by? The concept of the ideal. This is what Plato said 2,500 years ago. He says there is goodness, and we know what goodness is. We know what positivity is. We know that making more positivity in the world is what is going to be moral, ethical, right, true, whatever you want to call it, a virtue. All these different this surplus of positive evaluative adjectives. The Ariadne's thread that weaves through all of them is making life better for people. That's the ethical goal. That is the only ethical goal we could ever agree upon, and the only one that can be factually justified in the sense that, did you like the present? Yes, good. Then I made things better, right? It's a scientific philosophy. And the opposite of that, of course, the corollary is making things worse, hurting people, causing more suffering, causing more problems, causing more drama, more trouble. That is unethical. That's immoral. That's the only thing we can ever agree upon. You poke someone with a knife. Did you like that? Nope. Okay, good. No, we know that's bad. Okay, good. Don't do that anymore. This is a hypothetical, of course, you work with. This is a facetious example. I hope you understand. Don't actually poke people with knives. I'm going to go on record and say, please don't poke people with knives. I'm going to take a bold stand. Say,
That'll be
please
the
don't do.
social clip, Josh. Yeah, exactly.
There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Josh Bachynski, news breaking. Josh says, please don't stab people. Yes. So that's what unethical is, right? So if we lived in this Star Trek future and we were post money, then yeah, trying to fleece people, in terms of really aggressive marketing, lying about marketing is always unethical. Lying always increases risk of harm. So those kinds of things are unethical. However, I said there's two different worlds, right? There's, we leave it to the Ferengis to fleece people, and that's what their culture does. Fine, we'll leave their culture alone because we're also very good post-colonialists. Fine, you guys do you, but caveat emptor, we know we know what we're dealing with when we go to vacation on Ferenginar, I believe the planet was called. But we live in not in that world, right? And until we do, caveat emptor is the rule. Right? You have to buyer beware. You have to always protect yourself, and this is true just for anybody, right? You always have to protect yourself, whether you're on the street, whether you're in a restaurant and someone's going to rip you off. You're online. You always have to be ready to protect yourself. So that doesn't mean anything goes, right? That doesn't mean you can lie in your marketing. That would be unethical in terms of the ethics of marketing. Um, uh, uh, and I like to think that in the vast majority of cases, you don't need to lie. You can tell the truth in an advantageous way. That this is it's not good for business to sell something that's not actually going to do what you said it's going to do. So I think that it all goes hand in hand, actually, quite frankly, ethical marketing, ethical business, ethical brand, moving forward with an ethical product that's actually going to do what it said it's going to do, and it's going to improve their lives and make them happy. It's going to do what you said it was going to do on the marketing page. I think that all goes hand in hand, and I think that is the cornerstone of ethical marketing. And so how does it change in the AI realm? Well, it doesn't really, because again, we can't stop artificial intelligence. You can stop. I mean, again, of course, the example is Walmart over in North America. And this was an example from like 20 years ago. So some Gen Z are like, what do you mean don't shop at Walmart? What is he talking about? Just to let you Gen Zers and younger know, 20 years ago, some of us Gen Xers thought it was ethical to not shop at Walmart out of some kind of moral position, in which you would now call virtue signaling, which is correct. It was just virtue signaling is all it was. Sorry, he said in his Canadian accent. It's just virtue signaling is all it is. And that's, again, perpetuating the problem. We live in a society with some problems, but not so much that we can't be positive about it and always have a positive outlook, because that also would be ethical, right? To let that poison our own soul and make our own viewpoints always negative and always jaded and always sarcastic. That is letting the evil that is outside in, which is equally as unethical to yourself and to your family and to everyone around you and to all your loved ones. And I know, as Jean-Jacques Rousseau said, do not blame me if being moral is difficult. I didn't set the standards, right? This is just the way that it is. And so in the AI world, I mean, it's listen, AI is there, nothing we can do about it. Use it instead of rallying against it uselessly. Use it to improve your life and everyone's life around you. It's amazing what you can do with it. It can improve your lives in so many different ways, improve your bottom line in so many different ways. And then in terms of, well, what if here's one last thing I want to push back on. And obviously I've said this before in my TEDx talk. So for those who've been listening, should not be that surprised, I would say it, is that Google is not the moral police. I'm going to be very delicate when I say this, because I know probably some of your listeners might be like, what? What do you mean Google's not the moral police? Following Google's terms of service does not make you a good person. They are not the moral police. They are a money-grubbing, capitalistic, greedy American company hell-bent on of owning the internet and charging everyone an extortion fee for daring to try to publish on it or surf on it. Google search is not free. We pay for Google search because the way companies make money on Google is they have to pay on ads. And so every time we search for free, we are increasing the ad click cost of people who have to advertise to us, right? So Google is not free. Google's never been free. It offends me to no end that anyone could ever possibly think that any capitalistic company is the moral police and the moral standard. So one, following Google's terms of service is not the standard for morality. I don't remember Google's ethical book when I took my PhD in ethics because it doesn't exist. This is nothing more than a Bernaysian propaganda at its finest. Google has done many commendable things. One is brainwash all of us to think that they're the good guys. And they're very good at doing that. I've been doing that for quite some time. So after you realize that, oh, wait, Google isn't the moral police. And so, if I break their terms of service, has nothing to do with ethics or not, right? It has nothing to do with you being a good or bad person. It has nothing with you to being a good or bad marketer. Being truthful about whether you do or not so that your clients can assess their risk. That is a line in the sand of being ethical. But Google cannot be harmed. They don't feel pain. And so you getting your grandma's cookies shop at number one for cookies in Langford, British Columbia is not an unethical thing. In fact, that was a very ethical thing you did. You're a very good boy or girl or transgendered friend. Go to grandma and get a cookie. So if once you synthesize all those views of mine, if you could stand my diatribe and you could synthesize all those views of mine, that's how you're an ethical marketer. Using AI, it's like sorry, I know. If I could push a button and make all those tech bros pay every artist and every writer that they ripped off a percentage of their company, which they might have to do, by the way. The AI could be so destabilizing to the economy. I'm not sure it will anymore, but AI could be so destabilizing to the economy that we'll literally have to change the way that the economy works in the fundamental sense of we all own stocks or shares in the tech bro companies that run the world. And we trade these stocks and shares for goods and services. And so it might end up having to be that after all. But if I could press a button and have them have to pay off the artists that they ripped off to get this stuff, I would press it. Boom, 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 boom. I press it a million times. That button doesn't exist. It's called voting 20 years ago to keep liberal democracy strong. And we didn't do that. So sorry, don't have a time machine. This is where we live. Yes, he's the president. Again, deal with it. And yes, the prime minister is changing again in someone else's country, which I've been watching with some interest. So that's the way that it is. And so we need to be ethical from whatever stance we find ourselves in. And the ethical way of doing it is with joy, with alacrity, with wisdom, with sagacity, and being like, okay, we got to use AI. So to all the artists out there who are losing customers because they can't charge $5,000 now for an illustration that they did before on Upwork, fine, charge 500 and take on 50 customers because you're going to be making more money after that fact. Be the person who uses AI because AI is not really going to take many people's jobs, not in the short term. People using AI better are going to take other people's jobs and already are. So be that person. Be that. It's just a matter of training, right? Be that person. Learn this new thing. Don't stick your head in the sand. That's not helping anybody. And learn this new thing. That's if you don't mind me going on for so long, that's my shortest answer as to how to be ethical in marketing in AI.
I think there was this whole own little TEDx talk like built into this podcast, pretty much. I appreciate that, mate. I appreciate
well,
that.
I've given that rant a number of times, as you can imagine.
Exactly. I appreciate the specificity you go into there, right? I think a lot of us, especially, working as an agency or a consultant or freelancer, working with different clients, right? And we have this conversation at the agency here. Credit to the directors here. We will have that conversation of this client has inquired, do we feel comfortable working with gambling or pornography or CBD or whatever? Sometimes it's legal, sometimes it's not, depending on where you are, all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, I think a lot of people try and draw their moral line in the sand and end up having virtue signaling kind of bullshit, to be honest. But actually, like you said, doing good work, regardless of what the tech companies say, if you are, like you said, buying links to help your grandma sell more cookies and it works,
Heaven
Fair enough.
forbid, Jack.
I know I said it crazy. Build a little PBN for grandma, and I'm
Sure.
sure she'll have a great time.
Yeah.
But that I guess that ties into the other half of this conversation about the evidence side of things, right?
Mm.
We mentioned testing obviously at the start of the episode. When it comes to using AI in your workflow, when it comes to doing new marketing, working with clients, whether you're in house as well, this still applies. How do you, I guess, like entrench that evidence based approach into your marketing? And again, the caveat, the two-part question, that everything is now a two-part question. And has that changed because of AI? Is the the token 1.5 of every question now?
Right. Right. It really hasn't changed for me. It was always about uh, uh, providing that evidence. Well, if first in terms of customers, since around 2010 is when I really quit my academic career and got back into SEO full time. I was doing it part time the entire time. I've been doing it continuously in some form since around 1998. Uh, uh, and I was like, okay, well, then Panda and Penguin just came out really around that time, 2011, 2012. So that was the first, big earthquake. Farmer was slightly before that. That was the big earthquake of changes. And so I've took it upon myself to test because I'm like, okay, well, I just came from an academic background. The standard there is testing. So actual empirical knowledge. So that was the standard I wanted to take. I can do what it would have taken me a 6-month study before. I can do in 6 days now. It is just amazing if you put your mind to it and adopt agentic computing and all the APIs it has access to and all of the MCPs it has access to, which is a fancy way of saying all the plugins, all of the tie-ins it has to all these different kind of technologies that you were like, okay, wait a minute. It's a little bit like if this, then that. If this, then that, and Zapier have been popular for like putting things together for a few years. But it really, I think, has been kind of big kind of SEO nerds kind of on the side. Maybe have been like, well, if I link my Google site to this and then I can get these links this way. See, all these kind of little kind of little schemes. It's like that, but like with meat, like with a full breadth of, oh wow, I can take Search Console's API and I can merge that with Google Analytics API and I can merge that with Data for SEO's API, and now I can do these huge quarter trillion impression data correlative analyses, kind of figuring out how all this is working and getting an exact sense, instead of like charge your customer whatever you think is fair for your level of intelligence and what you're providing. But, in the past, possibly a hypothetical scenario, maybe on this giant kind of backlink audits that we would do for customers, it would literally take us 10 hours to do. Like when we charge 10 hours, like, no, it took me 2 days, 5 hours a day to slog through this thing and comb through every single backlink and think, is this good? Is this bad? Whatever that meant. We can now do that in 10 minutes. Like 10 minutes, we were charging whatever it was, $5,000 for, $10,000 for in the past. You could do the same thing, but now you can do more. Now you can do that plus, and here's what you do to solve it. And I already tested it and look, this will work, that won't work, blah, 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 blah. It just increases our capability to go further in making good, right? And that again is the cornerstone of ethics is in making good. So it's done nothing but enhance my capability for sure.
I guess maybe we've already answered this question, but I'm thinking in terms of people who don't have that capability to do testing. Maybe we don't quite have the access to the 250 billion impressions and things like that.
Well, it
Is
definitely
it
helps.
a matter of finding those? Yeah, exactly. Is it a matter of finding those groups and communities and that kind of thing? Do you have a method for finding sort of like sources to trust, I guess, in the industry? Is it a matter of relying on the obvious big publications and things like, the Search Engine Journal, Search Engine Land, SE Roundtable, all those guys? I know a lot of the tools like SEMrush, Ahrefs, SE Ranking, all those guys, no preference, no sponsor, etc., etc. They're all doing their own studies as well and coming out with different data. What is your approach to finding those trustworthy sources, Josh?
Again, that's a very good question, Jack. I mean, that's probably the most important question if anyone wants to be in SEO, for sure, continuously, now in 2026 and beyond. I have to confess that my answer is going to sound a little self-serving, But again, if the information was out there readily available, I wouldn't have had to make a mentorship in the first place. Right? If the data was available, if Ahrefs and SEMrush and Search Engine General and my good friend old Barry Schwartz was putting out reliable data that was actionable, then I would never have had to spend all my time and money banging my head against the wall, making my eyes bleed, doing SEO testing for 15 to 10 years. I could just be an affiliate making 30 grand to 50 grand a month, and I'd be, as I have been in the past, I'd just still be perfectly happy, selling these weight loss pills, assuming, or whatever it is, these skin creams, assuming that they work and that they're ethical. But I looked at the studies. I was the SEO team lead for one of the major affiliate companies. That's the job I got when I came back 2010 for Cell Health, and I know that they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars of scientific studies to prove that their herbal supplements actually work and do something. And I know they spend a lot of money and time, and they care whether it does. They care mostly because they don't want to get sued, but at least that works in our favor of knowing, it actually does something, and it does what they claim it's going to do. And they love their affiliates. They would never pay out their affiliates, unlike some other affiliate companies where I was working for one. They just decided not to pay me anymore. They're like, yeah, Josh, you're ranking number one when we should be. Why are we paying an affiliate to rank number one for this skin cream when we should be ranking number one and not giving away 30% or whatever the commission was? It was a pretty good commission, 25%. So yeah, but that's caveat emptor, right? I was happy to make the 30 to 50 grand a month for the time before that. that was lovely, I can assure you. Played a lot of PlayStation, which was my mistake. I should have been reinvesting it into other sites. I dared to take a few months off. Darn it. But yeah, so you definitely listen to everybody, but listen with careful ear, and remember back from elementary school what evidence really is and what evidence really is not. SEMrush saying this or Ahrefs saying that is all hearsay, even if they provide a nice fancy chart. And not everyone's how do I say this delicately? Not everyone's main goal is the truth. Sometimes it's it's the truth as long as it doesn't stop you from buying what it is they mostly sell. Let me put it that way. So to find a group, I would. I'm not even going to say check mine out. All I'm going to say is Google the person's name, Google the group in question, see what people say about it online, see what the AI overview and AI mode say about it. Because if you Google my name, it said something along the lines of that Josh is a controversial character. However, he seems to be deeply ethical, and he definitely stands by doing single variable testing and providing an evidence-based approach. Prepare for, however, a controversial view and possible upsells. And I'm like, fair. I've been upselling my AI tools. You're absolutely right. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take that. Fine. That was fair. It is an evidence-based approach, and you will get the evidence as to why I think this is a ranking factor or why I don't. And you will see the wins channel and all of our package our wins from the last 10 years, every single month getting wins for the last 10 years from my students. I'm quite proud that my students, many of them join as junior SEOs. They move to senior SEO, marketing manager, and then even in two cases, I can count CEO of a particular agency. So I'm very proud of the careers that we've built in undergrad SEO University. So I would just say you got to Google them. You got to check them out. You have to maybe pay for a month, see how well it is. If it costs $5,000 for a course or $1,000 for a course, I would be very leery about that, because I don't know about you, Jack, but a lot of these guys in the industry, they made their course 15 years ago and they haven't updated it since, and it's still $5,000 to buy it. I mean, I don't think SEO is an expensive enough commodity that you can charge $5,000 for a course anymore. I certainly don't. That's certainly far more than I'm charging at undergrad SEO University, and it's a monthly fee, and I'm in there. That's the other thing. Check to see if the guru, the so-called guru, is in the actual group and will answer your actual questions. So there's accountability, right? One thing I hate about Reddit, or any SEO forum is that there's no accountability, right? Nobody comes back and says, hey, I tried that. Or very rarely do you see someone come back and say, hey, I tried that. Dude with the signature of blah, 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 blah. It didn't work. What now? And even if they do, that guy never responds, right? I am in the Discord group. If you try something that I said would work and it didn't, I want you to tell me. I'm the first person you should be telling, because I need to find out why. I need to diagnose, okay, that ranking factor, that ranking strategy did work for us very well. Why is it not working now? What's wrong with your site? What's going on? Has Google changed that? That's how I found out, actually. That's how I did this last couple of studies, is that I was like, we're not ranking as good as we used to. We're not getting the immediate wins that we're accustomed to in this group. And I know it sounds like a humble brag, but I was like, this is. I'm like, okay. So then I started doing studying. I'm like, oh wow, they changed the ranking factors completely, and I was quite surprised. So I would go and Google, find out whether they are truly evidence based, find out if it's just they do massive studies, which are only so good in ranking discrete sites. Massive studies are only so good in ranking discrete sites, as Jack was mentioning, in different niches. Can almost change almost completely. Local to global definitely changes. That's two different products. The map pack is a different company from Google search. It literally a different company under Alphabet. It is a different Google product, ranking completely differently with factors, because there's no GBP over here, with factors that you can't do. Like, it's not the same, right? You can't rank on 4-star GBP rating when you don't have a GBP. That's a different factor, obviously, right? So that's what I would recommend. Is you gotta do a little bit of research, be a little careful. Just because some guy on Facebook said it doesn't make it true. That's not what evidence truly is. And you need to go to a place where there's accountability and see if the person is there. Try it for a month and see. But not, again, if it's some huge discrete one-time $5,000 cost. Avoid that like the plague. That course will be 15 years old and will be useless. It has to be current, and it has to be accountable.
Yeah, I love that addition of the, like you said, the guru, the educator, whatever you want to call them, actually putting the money where their mouth is, right? Like a
Yeah.
perfect example of yourself being in the Discord and being like, I just tried this and it didn't work. Or people giving feedback and saying, hey, I
Yes.
took this recommendation for my company. This didn't work at all. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, I think we see a lot of people talking about this and not actually doing the work. And that was something I was very
Yeah.
conscious of for a little bit of context before we get into the recommendations. Like, I don't do much client work anymore because I'm
Mm-hmm.
mostly doing the podcast. I'm organizing our conference. I'm doing a bunch of our internal marketing stuff.
Right.
But when I transitioned to that role from doing a lot of client work here at Candour, it was, I want to keep at least one client and, contributing to other accounts. So I am still putting the practice, I'm still boots on the ground. I'm still doing the
Right.
work. So I don't get rusty. So I'm not one of these people online that is like, oh yeah, 10 years ago when I last worked on a client, it worked like this. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Why are we having this conversation? Like, I don't care. I
Yes.
know I'm not the guest here, but still, as a host, I feel like it is my responsibility to still know and have real actual references. If anybody's listened or watched the show before, I will talk about my clients on the show. Obviously not naming
Sure.
any names, but like,
Of
oh yeah,
course.
with this client I did this and da 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 da. I think
Yeah.
that makes such a big difference for me not feeling like a fraud
Yes.
in these conversations, and keeping yourself sharp and keeping up to date, and exactly as you said there, the important one, keeping yourself accountable as well. That is a huge
Yeah.
part of it for sure.
Yeah. Well, you're making good. That's what ethics is all about.
I'm trying, mate. I'm trying.
That's yes, exactly. We're trying to make good. That's what ethics is all about.
Exactly. Let's wrap up and get into some recommendations, shall we, Josh? And I'm going to kick things off with, what is one actionable tip you'd recommend everyone to try right now?
Well, again, without danger of being a little too self-serving, it would be to check out some of the AI tools that I've built that are based on all this evidence that I've been collecting. I've got a coupon code for you guys as well. So the company that I founded is called Beefy, or Be Found Everywhere. It's bfeai.com, and we've got an AI-based keyword tool which has I built an 11 million row. If anyone has heard of the Orcas One study, Microsoft did a soft learning study. It was the Orcas One study. I don't know if you've heard of it, Jack. And then where they watched people click for 11 million searches. And so I use this to construct a conversion rate that is much more accurate than just like our random guesses in the industry. E-commerce converts at 5%, right? Like that's what people say. No. So this is another case of being data-based. We use that conversion rate in the keyword tool to tell you kind of what money is behind each keyword, but also then we use 15-point chain of thought ideation of multiple different AIs and data sources computing the difficulty. So we can times money times difficulty to show you statistically the keywords to go for that are the easiest to rank for, because people have forgotten, or I mean, Jack, you would laugh if you looked at it like back in 2005, every keyword that made money was hard because people used keyword tools to find that out. Market Samurai or whatever it was. Now they don't anymore. They don't. I don't get it. Like no one's doing this anymore. You'll find in payday loans, you'll find keywords that are like really make a lot of huge amount of money, but are not that hard to rank for. And so that's our keyword tool. We also have an off-page agent, which helps you build in a completely white hat way websites for your own use. I'll just put it that way. Let you be using for maybe backlinks, or telling the AI overview that, hey, this is great content, you should be using it. Helping the AI overview understand the structure of your business, the structure of your information on other pages could help. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So yeah, if you skew a little bit more towards that direction or local, we have a ton of local tools as well, made by Kyle Sabra and Ryan Mazies, who are two of the top, very vocal. They call themselves green hat SEOs because they don't care about black hat or white hat. They just care about making money. If that is your bent, then go check us out at Beefy. If you're interested in seeing the evidence that I've got, by all means, email me. It's Josh Bachynski, Josh, B as in Bob, ACH, Y as in YouTube, N as in Nancy, SKI@gmail.com. No dots or dashes. Or go to Underground SEO University. Google it first to see what is said about it. And you can join, and I can show you some of that evidence as well. That's, if not too self-serving, what I recommend. And I have a coupon code for you as well. So it's Beefy Josh 20, I think it is, Beefy BEEFY JOSH 20 to give you 20% off on anything on your credits on in Beefy. In Beefy, when you sign up, you get credits and you can use anything in our ecosystem, right? So any new app we add to the ecosystem as well, you can use that. I have an ethical AI writer coming out soon, which is it's taken me 6 months to engineer. It's quite a complex piece of software to help you generating your content and use SEO scores that actually have evidential weight, not just an imaginary SEO score that is like a dial that goes yellow or green. What is it based on? Who knows? Something I barely checked 20 years ago. This is new, it's current, it's up to date. It's definitely technologies Google are using. So that score will actually really help you to know that you actually have a real solid, robust SEO going. And more will be adding on top of that as well. Automation. So you could just have an agent and say, hey, I want you to fix my WordPress site on the roofing. Okay, great. And the agent goes off and does all that. It just does all that while you're drinking coffee or talking to the receptionist or whatever else. That is, of course, the holy grail, and that's what we're pushing towards. White hat SEO with black hat efficiency is what we're pushing towards. Nice. Yeah, so please go check it out.
Nice. I'll put links for everything in the show notes. Of course, the discount code will be in there as well, so you guys can go check that out. Sweet. Next question, related but slightly different. What is a unsung piece of software or a tool you think more people should be using?
That's a great question. So, ignoring all the software that I just mentioned of mine that I'm developing and my partners in Beefy, I'm not the only one, and all of that. Claude Code for Windows or Codex for Windows. I mean, if you haven't looked, or Replit, if you want design stuff, if you haven't looked at agentic computing, you need to look at it. There's so much you can do with it beyond SEO, right? I get it to clean up my computers. Like my CPU is at 22%, my RAM is at 75% right now. I can go to Claude and say, hey, why is my RAM at 75%? Kill all these processes that don't need to be there. And if you're on Windows, there's a lot of them that don't need to be there, right? There's so much stuff you can do. Be like, oh, here, I downloaded 5 podcasts. Summarize this for me. Okay, but it's like your personal assistant that can do almost anything. Like there's an API almost for everything, and it can pull a library for this. Or they've been building libraries in Python and APIs for quite some time that can do quite a lot of things. So buying a car, for example, my wife and I, we need to replace the current car we have. The air conditioning went out on it. And I don't know about you, but it's pretty hot outside, so where I am anyway. So we got to buy a new car. So I had Claude code working all night, pulling the through the car APIs that exist, pulling and the Carfax and all the damage history and whatnot. It pulled all that information and got all of the different cars in my local geographic area that were available in my price range, and then it emailed all of them, emailed and texted all of them, and said, "Hey, I might be interested." And that's all. Did I have to do that? Did I have to spend a week doing that? No, the AI did that, right? Human beings don't do computer work anymore. Human beings don't click things anymore. Human beings probably even don't write things anymore. An AI does those things. That's the new tool. That's the new pen. That's the new writing press. That's the new typewriter. That is just the way that it is. I would jump on the technology while it's still available before, somebody shuts down all of it or something, or who knows what's going to happen now. I would jump on it sooner rather than later, because the people who are going to make money with this, it's not NFTs. I know we've had so much grift, in the last 10 years. Everyone is so cautious. Last 10 years, yeah, I guess 10, 15 years. It's not NFTs. It's not a flash in the pan. It's not ChatGPT either. It's not chatting with a chatbot. It is beyond that, right? So that's what I would recommend there. For example, totally not SEO related. I wanted to continue my philosophical studies, but one of my main pet peeves is I'm not good at languages. I'm not good at memorizing other languages. But I tried to learn Attic Greek, Plato's Greek, couldn't do it. I couldn't memorize the verbs and whatnot. So what I did instead is I had AI translate it for me. I said, "Hey AI, like for example, the Book of Revelations, I wanted to read in the original Coptic Greek, or the original biblical Greek." So I got a copy of the original biblical Greek, and I fed it to ChatGPT and to Gemini. I have both of them open in two tabs, and I wanted to see their different translators' notes, and I had it translate it for me. And boy, is it a different story when you read the original Greek. You're like, wow, this is not how they translated in English in the King James Bible at all, Or also, I was getting interested in some esoteric Hebraic philosophy as well. That there are no good English translations, right? So I had it translating the ancient Hebrew, and I'm going through and reading it, and man, that was amazing how other languages and how they work, and Hebrew specifically, and Mandarin as well. I was translating some Mandarin as well. So, I mean, you could use it for stuff like that, right? And you're like, well, how did you make sure it didn't hallucinate? Well, I had Gemini versus ChatGPT, and I had them checking. And if I was ever in doubt, I'd highlight and search in AI mode. So I had up to 3 AIs telling me what the truth was on this, and I could put it together. And in fact, it was even better, because like this hammered this kind of way of knowing it, this hammered this way. I was able to put it together and have a much more interesting, fulfilling synthesis. So it's too early to say that word, synthesis. So it's early for me anyway. So yeah, I mean, there's amazing things. Suno, I have not bought a song for a year. I make all my own music. If I want to hear a song, I make it in Suno, Suno. If you want to get beautiful artwork done and not pay an artist $5,000, there's Midjourney. If you want to get video done, there's Runway. So we haven't paid an ad, someone to make an ad for us for a year, saving $50,000, like tens of thousands of dollars doing that. So I mean, it's really amazing. I know it's scary. I know people are grumpy. I know I am too. We all are. So we got to try to make good, right? We got to see, okay, this is where we are. These are the tools that we have. It's not yesterday. Stop wishing it was yesterday. Okay, now it's today. We're back on the same page, and use the tools to make good. And I think you're going to see a little bit of sunshine into what all this can do.
Nice. And let's finish off with a recommendation of what you've been enjoying recently, Josh. Not SEO, no work stuff. Have you been enjoying podcasts, books, movies, games? I know you got as wide a taste as I do. So what have you been enjoying recently, mate?
Yeah. So other than the translating, the philosophy work I've been doing there, translating stuff from the original texts, we did. I don't know if your show was a video show, but I asked Jack, do you know what this is at the beginning of the show? It is a relic from a tabletop game called Dungeons and Dragons. That's a gelatinous cube was eaten a poor adventurer in a dungeon somewhere. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big nerd. Also, I've built 3 separate games I've developed from Replit. Now, I got to warn you about Replit. Replit is great. It makes beautiful designs, kind of like that. But then you take it out of Replit and you put it in GitHub and you serve it off of Cloudflare. Do not serve it off of Replit. It costs an arm and a leg. And the more you work in Replit, you eat up your credits and they don't tell you. And then you start, every time you talk to the AI, it's like a $2 ding. So my Replit bills are like $200 every month. I'm like, why am I, $200, $300, $400? I'm like, why am I spending so much money? I see. They don't tell you when the cap is over. So what I would do, sorry, Replit, what I would do is I would build it in Replit because it makes a nice design, then move it over to Claude Code or move it over to Codex, whichever one you prefer. They're both kind of identical at this time in history. Until Fable 5 comes back out, then Claude has a serious advantage there. But then GPT-6 is right around the corner. And so this arms race, they're just going to keep one-upping each other. Right now, I have Codex as the brain telling Opus 4.8 on full Ultra Code how to fix it. So Ultra Code doesn't do any thinking, it does the fixing. Codex does the thinking, and they talk to each other through an MD file. So every 20 minutes, it'll give it an instruction, it'll go back. I just come every few hours just to see how Codex is seen to iterate and fix a problem, and I have Opus fixing it. That's how you save your credits in Claude Code. Anyway, so yeah, I built 3 or 4 different games. I built a game called Nerd Chess, where it's the original rules of chess, but it uses the Axis and Allies combat system. Have you ever played Axis and Allies?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
So like infantry is like a defense on D6 on like a 1 to 2. So pawns got a 1 to 2. So it's kind of this. The queen could fight a pawn, but the pawn might win. Like the pawn has a 1 to 2 on a D6 chance of defeating the queen. So it kind of makes these interesting. And then we've changed the game board, so it's all got holes in it, and so the chessboard is all weird and whatnot. So I don't know. They were able to develop that. Took me 5 hours. It didn't take long at all. So yeah, it can really open up your creativity and really open up both stuff, for personal fun time, but also for work time as well.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate all those recommendations, tips, ethical discussion, marketing discussion, everything we talked about over the last 70 plus minutes or so. Very much appreciate you taking the time. Where can people follow you? Where can people keep up with things like the Underground SEO University, Beefy, all that kind of stuff? Where is the best place to follow you, mate?
The best place would be my YouTube, probably. So go to youtube.com/jbachins, JB as in Bob, ACHYNS. Again, that is youtube.com/JBACHYNS. I'm that old that I have that old an account on YouTube. And I also, if you want to see me put my money where my mouth is, every Friday I build in public. So I have a build in public show at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And whatever I'm doing, whatever client I'm working on, or I think this Friday I'm going to build an electrician site for my friend, my good friend Christian. He doesn't have a website, so I'm going to build him a local electrician site, local SEO from starting from scratch. I'll show you from everything, registering the domain name, how I chose it, all of that going through. I think I'll probably do that tomorrow, unless there's a client problem, in which case I'll work on that for an hour. And you see exactly how I do it. You see how I succeed, and you see how the fails happen. Like again, building on Replit and having a single page application React website and realizing that Google really doesn't want to index that. No matter how much they say they do, they really, really don't want to index that. So let me make the painful mistakes so you don't have to is what I'm saying.
Awesome. Well, go and check out Josh on YouTube. Go and follow him, and I will put links for everything we've talked about in the show notes and video description down below. So go and check him out. Thank you once again for joining me, Josh. Been a pleasure.
Thanks, Jack.
That wraps up this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Josh Bachynski as much as I did. And like I said at the start of the show, if you have any thoughts, any comments about doing ethical marketing in AI and this AI era of search and why evidence is more important than ever, please do let me know in the comments down below. Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're watching or listening to the podcast. Thank you for joining me and enjoying this episode. Thank you to Josh for joining me and having such a great, insightful conversation. And I will be back next week with the one and only Leo Poitevin, talking all about why AI search engines such as ChatGPT and Gemini and things like that might be recommending your competitors, but not you. And what Leo has about his approach and his strategy to AI search that has been working for him and his clients recently as well. So another AI search interesting conversation coming up next week. Until then, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next week. Have a lovely week.